Have you ever wondered why guys do certain things that seem to make no sense? Isn't it confusing to try to understand the meaning or logic behind any one of his actions? Well, what if I told you some of these actions have a really clear meaning, you just don't realize it yet? Which is why on today's show, we'll be discussing 6 things men do and what it actually means. That way, you're no longer in the dark about his actions because you already know why he's doing it before he can even admit it to you. Have you ever received a text from him out of the blue, when you guys are either in no contact or just aren't on speaking terms? You respond to him after he texts you, right? And then after you respond to him, because let's say he says, "Oh, what are you doing? How you been? What's going on? What's up with you?" And when you respond, he gives you no response. And you're just like, "Wait, what was the point of that? What, why would you text me? Ask me what's going on, ask me what's up, ask me how I'm doing, and then when I respond, you don't respond." Have any of you been through that before? Now, I know this is a very, very, very annoying action that a lot of men will do. Okay, even I've done it before. Okay, I'm not even gonna lie to you. Now, let me explain to you why this is actually happening, and it's a very actually trivial and silly reason. See, there's a weird thing that men do where when we sleep with you, or when, let's just say, we have access to you. I'm not just talking about in the physical sense, in an emotional sense, right? When we feel like at one point you were ours, so to speak. There's a thing where men like to continue on an ongoing basis to feel that level of control over you. Just gonna be honest with you. And this is a way of kind of reminding himself, how much control do I still have? How interested in me is she still? Is she willing to talk to me? Is she willing to entertain a conversation with me? How in there am I still? And the craziest part about this is, for a lot of men in these scenarios, they don't even actually even have a desire to sleep with you again. They just have a desire to know that there's a possibility they could still sleep with you again if they really wanted to. Sounds very strange, but this is kind of a version of getting his ego stroked. He just wants to ejaculate, so to speak, in an ego sense. And once he gets that ego ejaculation, that's all he really needs, right? So you don't realize it, but your response, it's a mental orgasm in the sense that when he gets his ego satisfied by understanding, yeah, I'm still the man, she would still entertain the idea of being with me or talking to me if I really wanted to do this again, if I really wanted to talk to her again, if I really wanted to make this a thing. That's really, for him, that's all he really needs in terms of being able to know that he has that type of access to you if he really wanted it. And then once he realizes that, that's why he doesn't respond, because it's not really about getting to know you again. It's not really about seeing what's up with you again. It's not really about, how you've actually been. It's just about himself and that recognition of control. If you don't respond, then he doesn't get the mental orgasm. He doesn't get the ego stroke of knowing he still has access to you. Point number 2 is about the dress code. This weird thing that men do is when they see a girl on the street or just a random girl on Instagram, right? That girl gets some attention, okay? Right from him. He might message her, he might compliment her, he might say, "Girl, you look good," right? "You look so good." He might even do things for her, right? He might take her out, he might spend some time with her, he might even, in a lot of cases, hang out with her, right? And so this can be quite confusing because when you see how he treats or goes about these girls who are dressing a particular way, very provocative, showing a lot of skin, you see him not seem to have so much of a problem with it. But then when it comes to you, all of a sudden, he wants you to cover up. And all of a sudden, he seems to have a problem with the idea that you would be showing any sort of skin to anyone at any time, right? And this can be quite confusing to you because you're like, wait a second, you didn't have a problem with it when it was this random girl or this IG girl. In fact, I find it that you were giving most girls attention when they dressed this particular way that you would call, like a hoe. Now, all of a sudden, I'm your girl and you're not encouraging me to dress like that. In fact, anytime I dress similar to that, you're all of a sudden saying, "Oh, why would you dress like that? Why are you going out like this? And why are you going out like that?" So this is why it can be confusing. But let me explain to you how this works, okay? And try and break it down a little bit of men logic. See, There's a natural inclination for men when they're in their masculine energy to be protective over things that they perceive to be theirs. Now, I'm not saying that he owns you or that you belong to him, but I'm saying that the psychology of it is if you're actually his woman. So let me put this in here, right? If you're actually his woman, meaning that you are guys or boyfriend and girlfriend or whatever the case may be, there's a different perception that he has of you a lot of times. See, he's going to think of other women here, and then he's going to think of you up here in his mind. So he's going to think the way that you go about life, the way that you do things, the way that you talk, and the way that you walk is different from all of these other peasant women. That's actually not a bad thing for you. We want that concept to exist in his mind in order for him to treat you properly. So this can be really confusing because you might think, well, why doesn't he encourage me to dress the same way that he encourages all these other girls to dress? But the problem is these other girls, while they might be fun for a little bit, right? We call these girls fun girls. While they might be fun for a little bit, a lot of times men come to a realization at some point or another that this isn't actually the type of woman he wants to be investing in and he wants to be raising his family. Okay? Now, for some men, depending on who they are, where they're at in their life, it takes them longer or shorter to realize this. Some men even end up dating this woman for a little bit, and then they realize, ooh, that was probably a mistake. The reason I say that is because when men are in their natural element of being a father, being a masculine energy, being someone who can actually lead and take on the roles and responsibilities of being a leader in a family, they embody something different, and their psychology and their mind changes. And the way that they view you changes a little bit. So the reason that I'm saying this, because it can be so confusing to receive this and see this of men, what I want to kind of help you re-understand about men that are doing this is it's actually not meaning necessarily a bad thing. It just means that he sees you and views you in a different light than he does these type of women, which is actually not bad. And of course, when a man is in his masculine energy, he's going to be protective of things that he wants to protect, things that he really values. Now, obviously, there's a limit to this. Obviously, you can get to a point where it becomes controlling and it becomes too much because he's trying to literally control your entire life. That's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to the subtle ways a man will say, hey, that one makes me a little bit uncomfortable, or, just, make comments about things that maybe he wouldn't care to comment about if it was some random girl. And in some cases, you might even see him giving attention to some of these random girls that dress this way. So I understand how confusing that can be, but also understand that when you are this woman up here, instead of the crowd down here, there's a different way he'll perceive you, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Now, does that mean you have to change everything about how you dress or how you choose to go out? No. But there is a compromise here, and you want to understand where this is really coming from. It's most of the time not coming from a place of, oh, I dislike you and I want to control you and I want to take over your entire life. More times than not, it's coming from a place of, hey, I'm protective over you because I know how beautiful and amazing you are, and I also see you differently to how I see these women. That's actually a pretty good thing. Point number 3 is about overworking. Now, sometimes men will do this thing. In fact, a lot of times men will do this thing where, see, in order for them to not feel things and avoid feeling very painful emotions, they'll do this thing where they'll fill their schedule and life up to the brim with work and responsibilities and projects and more work and more responsibilities and more projects till that bar is filled up to like right here. There's almost damn near nothing left. And the great part about this for men, when there's no space left in life here, there's nothing left to have space to do or think about outside of work. If there's no more space in his life because so much of his time and energy is being taken up by work, then what happens is there's very little space to have a whole bunch of emotion here. So this can be a confusing time because when you see a man overworking, like to the point where he has no life, to the point where there's literally no time or space to do literally anything else, not even have fun. He can't even relax, have fun, go on the beach, soak up some sun. He can't do nothing except for work. This is a compensation because what he's trying to do is suppress his ability to feel any emotion. Now, what do you do if you ever notice a man overworking himself to suppress emotion? This is a time where you slow him down and you say, look, I'm noticing that you're really, really working hard. And I love that you work hard, but I'm noticing you're not giving yourself any time to like just sit and think or sit and ask yourself, how do you feel? So this is where, if this is your man, okay, assuming this is actually your man, you ask him, how do you actually feel? Like, take a second and breathe. Like, how are you actually doing? Are you happy with your life? You're working so hard. Do you feel like you're getting anywhere? Is there a goal you're shooting for? Is there something you're in fear of? Is that why you're spending so much time working? And this is where you can kind of step in and unpack some of this emotion and force him to sit down and actually think to himself, how do I feel? It's a very strange thing. And the thing I'll say about this that will sound very weird to you, I wish we could even watch a clip of it. But the example that I can best give to you, there's actually a recent interview on Diary of a CEO that is interviewing Mr. Beast. You guys know Mr. Beast. You watch me on YouTube, you know Mr. Beast, okay? So he's a YouTuber, very popular YouTuber for all the kids, okay? And he said on the podcast of Diary of a CEO, the interviewer asked him, are you happy? And his answer was actually no. He actually said, no, if anyone was in my shoes, they'd be miserable. Because no one would want to spend this much time working and doing things because they'd be miserable. And I'm miserable. He literally said that in his interview. And it's funny because when you work so hard to the point where you have no space for anything else, right? And there's no space for emotions, you don't really have time to feel things. You don't have space to feel things. And if you don't have someone balancing you out to help you unpack those emotions, guys will do this till they die, right? They'll work so much and have so little space for emotions, and they'll make so little space for emotions that they'll just never ever feel things. Okay? So that's where you come in. This is why you're an amazing, awesome woman that brings things to the table that men don't have. This is where you come in and you help him unpack some of these things so he can take this work down just a little bit. Not that she's not going to work, okay? He takes it down just a little bit so that there's more room here for some more emotion, okay? Right? And you can fill some of this up here and have a nice balance in life where he can actually feel some things and he can actually assess to himself, am I happy? Am I going in the direction that I want to go? How do I feel about my progress, right? And all these different things, right? This is kind of the version or the part of relationships that a lot of people miss or they don't understand, especially if you're dealing with a workaholic man. That's me, okay? I'm a workaholic man. So these are the type of things us workaholic men need to balance us out. We can't, if we're left to our own devices, we're just going to work all day and you never do anything else, okay? Our point number 4 is about playing dumb. Now, there's a thing that men will do where when you're dealing with them in any particular situation, they will play dumb to the point where it actually becomes invalidating of your feelings. Let me give you an example of what I mean by that. Let's say you go out to an event with a guy that you're talking to. And at this event, let's say he has a friend that he's known there that's a woman. And he's talking to this woman and he's like, yeah, you know, this is my friend, da 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 da. And let's say you go off and you do your own thing and they're still having a conversation. 5 minutes goes by, 10 minutes goes by, 20 minutes goes by, and you're now in another circle with your own group of friends talking, and you're still seeing just him and her isolated, having conversation. They're laughing, ah, ha, 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 ha. She's touching his arm. Oh, you're so funny. He's Kevin Hart all of a sudden. He's never told you a joke. Now all of a sudden he's Kevin Hart. She's showing all 32 teeth. He's showing all 32 teeth, and they seem like they're having the greatest time ever. 20, 30 minutes goes by. They're still there having a conversation until the point you step in and you say, hey, I think I want to leave now. And he's like, what? We just got here. I'm having such a good time, Nope, I want to leave. And then on the way back, you're silent, okay? And you start bringing up the fact that it kind of bothered you the way that he was talking to that woman. Even though that they're friends, it's just kind of like this isolated, extended conversation with all 32 teeth showing kind of rubbed you the wrong way and bothered you a little bit. Now, this is the thing that men will do in that process. He'll say, huh? But that's my friend. I don't understand what the problem is. Yeah, you guys are friends, but you're flirting. Huh? I don't even understand. How were we flirting? What was the flirt? You were laughing, touching her arm. She was touching yours. You guys were so close. What? we're so close because like we're just close, type of friends. She's been with me since the sandbox. Yeah, but that's a little inappropriate because like I'm your girl and I'm just here on the side. What? You were on the sidelines? I was inviting you to have this conversation if you wanted to. Like me, I don't even understand what you have a problem with. Like me and her, we're just mad cool. I'm really confused. Like, what is your issue here? Like, I don't even understand why you're even upset about this. Me and her, we're cool, and I told you we're cool. And this is what happens. See, in a situation when he can fill it up with confusion, I don't even understand why you would even feel that way. It doesn't even make sense to me based on what happened. I'm very confused because you shouldn't feel that way based on what you saw and observed. And it's really confusing to me how you even came to that logical conclusion. This is the thing that, and some of you say that's kind of a version of gaslighting, but this is the thing that playing dumb will do. It's almost kind of like a version of weaponized incompetence, because his ability to pretend like he's so dumb and so clueless as towards what you would have a problem with actually aids his case in invalidating your feelings, which is why I filled this whole circle with question marks and made the accountability very, 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 very small. Because now, when there's so much confusion on his part, there's very little space left for him to have to be accountable to his actions. Because he can pass everything that he did off of, I don't even understand how you feel. I don't understand how you got there emotionally. And if I were you, I wouldn't even be in that situation or feel that same way. So all of this is so confusing to me, right? To the point where I don't even need to take accountability for this because I don't even understand what you feel. I don't understand why you feel that way, and I can't put myself in your shoes. So when you spot that, all you say is, okay, perfectly fine. You don't get what I'm feeling. You don't understand it. You don't see how I got there. No problem. I'm not going to continue over explaining myself. I'm not going to continue over communicating. I'm just going to know this for what it is. And then if you get to a point where you say this is not going to work out, then so be it, right? Because when you tell someone how you feel, or you tell someone what's bothering you, or you tell your partner how this is making you feel or making you feel uncomfortable, I should say, his response should be, okay, let me try and understand why that makes you uncomfortable, have some empathy, put myself in your shoes, and figure out a solution here. All of this is not a solution. It's actually going to make the process of you guys actually getting to a resolution a lot harder. So number 5 is broken promises. Now, what I want to kind of explain to you about this is it's something that men will do that can kind of feel confusing, but I want you to have clarity on why this is the way that it is and what it actually means on a deeper level. So let's imagine a guy says, hey, I really would love to go to this particular beach with you because I've always wanted to go there and I've never gotten to go with someone before. And he makes this promise to you that you guys will go to the beach next week on Tuesday. Next week, Tuesday comes and he's a no-show. Doesn't message you about the beach, doesn't mention the beach. In fact, he doesn't even text or call you the entire day that you guys were supposed to go to the beach that day because he said it sometime last week. And then you're wondering, why would you say that you wanted to go to the beach next Tuesday, have me anticipating it, and then not go? So you go from being happy about the idea of going to the beach with him because you're like, oh, I'm super excited, I want to do that, to end up being sad about not ending up actually at the beach with him. And let's say for the sake of example, he does the same thing with the sushi date where he says, oh, there's this really amazing Japanese restaurant that I want to go with you and I want to try it because I've never been there. And you're super excited and happy because he says you guys are going to go there next Friday. And then lo and behold, he's a no-show again or makes some sort of excuse and he breaks the promise. Now, this can be really confusing because you might say, well, why are you making promises to me of things that you want to do with me, letting me get excited about this, but then not following through, and then just continuing to make a different promise and continuing to not follow through? It's always taking me over the moon to feel like we're going to do something or do this really special thing and then never do it. Why not just not say it in the first place? Because if you're not going to take me on a beach date, why even bring up the beach date? If you're not going to take me on a sushi date, why even bring up the sushi date? It's very annoying to me, okay? And so this is what I want you to realize, and I want you to make this connection. See, the men that will do this type of behavior, you don't realize it, but they do the same thing for themselves. In the sense that with his own health, let's say, he has to go, yeah, I want to gain 5 pounds of muscle. I want to go to the gym. I want to be jacked. I see some of these bodybuilders and YouTubers. They're looking big. They're squatting 4 plates. I'm going to be like that by the end of the year. gonna be a beast, okay? And he says that to himself, that that's one of his goals for the year. But when it comes to actually following through on that promise for himself and his own health, he doesn't do it. He flops, right, on going to the gym. He doesn't show up. He takes time off. He doesn't actually work hard even when he goes to the gym or try and improve in any way, shape, or form. So he's actually making a promise to himself, getting himself hyped up and excited about it, and then he's breaking his own promise. It could be the same thing with money, right? He might say, damn, I'm about to, make myself $100,000 this year. I'm gonna get me a new job. I'm gonna start me a new business. Ooh, I'm gonna be balling. They're gonna be seeing me riding around in a different car. They're gonna be seeing me killing it. And then when it comes to actually making money, when it comes to actually making moves, he doesn't do any of those things. In fact, all he does is sit around and play Call of Duty or NBA 2K, and he makes $0 and 0 cents, or ends up in the same minimum wage job that he's been in. So the reason that I'm pointing this out to you is because I kind of want you to see the connection here between how he breaks promises with you and how he breaks promises to himself in his own life. Because there's a correlation here. What you're actually experiencing, even though this can be quite confusing, you're not experiencing someone who's trying to confuse you. You're experiencing someone who doesn't even hold themselves to the promises they make for themselves. And I want you to kind of see that connection here, because once you make that connection, you understand, oh, you're breaking promises with me because you break promises with yourself, and you can actually see that happening in his own life. You start to realize, oh, this is not even about me. It's not even about you flopping because you don't like me or you're uninterested. This is just your personality. This is your character. This is actually your approach to life, to make promises on things that you're gonna do, even for yourself, that you never end up doing. So it's exactly the reason why I say when you go out on dates with men, rather than asking them, what do you want in a relationship? What do you want in a wife? What do you want in a partner? You ask him about himself and how he approaches his own life. Because when you get those answers, you'll actually be able to make easy correlations to how he's going to treat you in the relationship. A man who breaks promises with himself for his own life of things he wants for himself will definitely break promises with you. Men who can actually hold themselves accountable and keep themselves to the things that they wanted to say are more likely to be able to keep their promises with you. Point number 6 is the fake forgiveness. Now, what does fake forgiveness mean? See, you might have experienced this before. Anytime you go to a guy and you have, let's say, an issue with him, let's just say for the sake of example, something you've done or said has upset him. And you know it has, because you know him and you know how he acts when he's upset. And when you address it, or you try to apologize, or you try to talk about the situation or talk about how he feels towards the situation, his response is, I don't care. It's whatever. It's not even a big deal. Just let's stop talking about it. I don't even care. It's whatever. Let's move on. I don't want to talk about this anymore. And you actually allow yourself and him to move forward from that without discussing it. Mistake, mistake, mistake. Let me tell you what this is, why this is happening, and how this will end up. See, when you have a problem with someone, let's just say he doesn't like a guy friend you have, whatever the case may be. And this is something that's been bothering him, irking him, whatever the case may be, and you can tell it's bothering him. What's supposed to happen is you guys have a conversation about how he feels, how you feel, the things that is going through your mind, his mind, and you guys are supposed to transfer this right here over into the resolve bucket. Meaning that he feels good about the conversation you guys had. He got to get some things off of his chest. He got to be honest about how he really feels towards some things. And then you guys came up with the solution that works both for you and works for him, where people feel more secure and comfortable in this situation and in this relationship. That's what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to take problems from this bucket and you're supposed to work on them and transfer them into the resolve bucket, and then you're good. Okay, you can clear it out for the next problem. But what happens when a man tells you, yeah, it's nothing. I really don't even care about it. It's not even bothering me, even though you can see it's bothering him. And let's just move on and not talk about it anymore. When you do that, you're not ever going to transfer this to the resolve bucket. You want to know the bucket that this goes to? This is a very bad bucket, okay? This goes into this bucket here. Because what a lot of men will do, and this can be really scary, is they will say, yeah, we won't talk about it. It doesn't actually bother me. But it does. And what will happen is they'll bottle it up. They'll start to resent you because the problem that was supposed to get transferred into the resolution bucket never got transferred into the resolution bucket. It just kind of stayed there and lingered there and lingered there and lingered there until it got transferred to here. Now, what does the excuse bucket look like? It's a very dangerous bucket. See, when it comes time to make a decision about himself when you're not around, meaning, like, let's say for the sake of example, he's at a club and he's out with the boys at someone's birthday party and he's seeing some girls or whatever the case may be. And he's thinking to himself, well, this girl's flirting with me. She seems very interested, but I know I probably shouldn't be entertaining it. But I remember how upset and angry she made me about this guy friend situation. I remember how much I resent her because she made this whole situation made me uncomfortable and we never came to a resolution and I still don't feel good about it and it makes me angry and she wasn't being the best partner to me. So you know what? Now when it comes time for me to make a good decision, I'm gonna let myself do whatever I wanna do. And then what will happen is down the road, let's say you catch him doing something nefarious or suspicious, he'll then bring up, hey, I know I did something bad. I know I wasn't the best partner to you. But do you remember the time where you had a guy friend and that guy friend was flirting with you too? And he was saying some inappropriate things to you too? And you weren't saying anything back? I basically just did the same thing. What's the big deal? Me and you were on the same page. You don't say anything to that guy, I didn't say anything to that girl. It's whatever it is, it's whatever, right? It's whatever. But this is a problem. Because now you have a situation in which the guy has allowed this to fester simply so that he can have a situation as an excuse. So then what do you do in that scenario to avoid this outcome? What you do is you never, ever, ever allow situations to go undiscussed that they don't get transferred into the resolve bucket, okay? Never, okay? I don't care if you have to bring the same situation up 50 times. If you know that it's bothering him, you discuss it to the point where he is forced to tell you if he feels better and tell you everything he feels towards the situation and be honest about it. And then for both of you to come up with a resolution. Do not allow a situation to move forward or just ignore it until you put something that was in the problem bucket in the resolve bucket. Okay? Because I promise you, a lot of men will hold that in. And then down the line, they'll express it and they'll use it as some sort of excuse or some sort of reason to treat you badly. We don't want that. Now, I'm not saying all men will do that, but a lot of men will bottle it up and then it'll come out in a different way. And I don't want it to come out in this way.